I just there having a little think about Billy Joe as a sex god, as he likes to say. No, as a boxer. Um, how good is he, and what is his chances if he does go on to fight Canelo? I hope he does, because I think that's a big fight. I think that's a great fight, and I think he's got a good chance against Canelo. Um, my opinion of Billy Joe Saunders is that you've got to think about him as two boxers. You've got to think about him as the boxer at middleweight. You've got to think about him as the boxer at super middleweight. I think he's got a much better claim at middleweight as being the best or one of the best boxers. Super middleweight, I think he's still got a claim of being one of the best boxers at the level. He's got a world title at super middleweight, but I do think it's slightly weakened. I think, in other words, I think he's a natural middleweight. I don't think he's naturally a super middleweight. He's obviously able to take up a lot of his skill, his speed. He's still slick. He's still got the same boxing IQ at any weight, and that stoppage of Caceres shows he's obviously, able to bring up power to super middleweight. But I think against a top super middleweight, there might be some that aren't very good choices for him. Callum Smith might be too big, for example. He's what I would call a big super middleweight. And while I think that Billy Joe's got all the skills to match him, because they're both top boxers, you might just find that Callum Smith on the night, if they do fight, is too big. They've said it about lots of boxers before. They said, oh, they won't be able to go up, and then they do. So I give room for being wrong. I just think that's where the worry starts coming for Billy Joe. Because on a boxing level, I think he's one of the best. For me, he's one of the, got to be pound for pound up there. His style, it's an awkward style, it's a clever style. It's enjoyable to watch. I appreciate that style of boxing. I think he's fought a lot of fighters at good pedigree. He's taken a lot of O's off people. Billy Joe, the O snatcher. I'm not saying that all the undefeated boxers he's fought have turned out to be great fighters, but nevertheless, when you go into the ring with an undefeated fighter, you don't. You got to give them room. You got to give the room for them being the best. No one's beaten them. How do you know? Any man can say he's the best until he's beaten in a boxing ring. You soon found out if you're wrong. Some quicker than others, but that's just the way it goes. His tough fights and his good wins. I think Andy Lee, close fight, but he did win it in my opinion. Chris Eubank Jr., that was a close fight. That was a pivotal fight. A real big moment in Billy Joe's career. I think he went on, to better things. I think he took a lot of confidence from that fight. Whereas Chris Eubank Jr., I think, got into a little bit of denial after that fight. It was rightly so. I think he thought to himself, I could have won that, and it manifested itself in a way of, I've got nothing to learn, I think, for Chris Eubank Jr. Whereas I think had he won, I think he'd have thought, right, what's my next challenge? What am I going to go on to? I think he took that loss quite hard, just my opinion. Whereas Billy Joe, I think, really went on to better things. Try and think. So he took undefeated fighters like Nick Blackwell, John Ryder, I think, was undefeated. That fight against Caceres, Cock something, I don't know. Caceres, he was undefeated, and even though Billy Joe stopped him, that was actually quite a tough fight. I think Billy Joe didn't look that comfortable. As mad as it sounds, he put him down 3 times. His superior skill came through, but it didn't look vintage Billy Joe. Maybe he had a bit of a bad night. That Caceres was undefeated as well. Again, people were writing him off, but he was an undefeated fighter. Maybe he's a bit better than people give him credit for. He hadn't really been in with top opposition, so people hadn't really given him chance. Hadn't given him much credit. Yeah, he hadn't really earned it yet against top opposition. But I think that Caceres come at that Billy Joe Saunders fight. I think he can hold his head up high because I think he did quite well, even though he got stopped. Then you've got, for me, Billy Joe Saunders' fight against David Lemieux, is it? The Canadian. David Lemieux. I'm not sure how you say it. I can't remember now. But people were saying he was a big middleweight. People were worrying about his power, some people, and Billy Joe just absolutely mocked up. So it in some ways it don't matter how powerful someone is if they can't put that weight on you or they can't land that shot, and then you're laughing all night, aren't you? And Billy Joe was against him. He was just completely outclassed him. It was a masterclass, really top performance. His fight against Canelo, I really do think he could cause Canelo problems. Being British, we've thought it before. It's not the first time that we've thought we've got a fighter who can really go and challenge one of the big fighters over in the Americas. But I think there's no chance that Canelo would take him lightly, at all. Amir Khan gave Canelo some problems, and then the power came through. Would it be like that against Billy Joe? I don't know. I think Billy Joe's a bit more durable. I really do. And I think Billy Joe, he really wants that Canelo fight. And that says something. I don't think he's the sort of boxer who just goes out for a big payday. He looks like he really wants it. His team really wants it. And Billy Joe probably now is looking at his stage of his career where he's thinking, I need some big paydays. He deserves them, really. He's been a top fighter, 2-weight world champion. That was mad. Just all of a sudden he was super middleweight world champion. That seemed to come out of nowhere, didn't it, that? I think big fights for him. Canelo, I hope that happens. I think he's got a good chance. Golovkin, an older Golovkin, because who knows? Golovkin for me has beaten Canelo twice, so he's dangerous. I think he's powerful. Kell Brook is a top fighter, and Golovkin just seems to bring that power through. Who knows? But I don't know. Billy Joe normally just looks so comfortable. I can't picture him being outclassed. And it's hard for me picturing him just being stopped. It's not someone I can really remember being wobbled much. He's got one of those styles where even if you hit him, it's sort of a lot of the impact's been taken out of it. So who knows? Callum Smith, that'd be a great big domestic fight. And then that Demetrius Andrade, is it, who he's going to fight before, but it didn't work out. That would be a good fight, although I think Billy Joe would have him. I really do. But I think Billy Joe's the future's looking bright for him. He's got some really good big payday fights out there. And I really think he can go to any of those fights comfortable, safe in the knowledge that he's got a great chance. So yeah, that's Billy Joe for me. I think that's my opinion of him. I think he's a top fighter. Be interested to know what you think. Comment below. Yeah.